because my viewers haven't seen me being interviewed.
Yeah.
This is my first interview, so exciting.
I had to get kicked out and get my life burned to the ground before I decided, you know what, maybe I'm in a cult.
Everything just kind of like blew out in my brain and in my life. And,
Let's go to the dark side.
Let's dim the
That's what
lights
this channel's
here.
all about.
Light some candles.
Yeah.
Yeah, get your Ouija board out. I've had marriage proposals, even though I don't think they're totally serious. Thank goodness.
Things that nobody deals with, and it messes you up.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to EXJW-Live, episode 7. Episode 7, Nash?
Yeah, I can count that high.
I wonder how high we're gonna get.
I don't know. Grade 7 math doesn't go far.
Yeah. Okay, so we are super excited here today. We have Tammy visiting us on the channel. She has her own YouTube channel, and I'm sure a lot of people are going to be aware of that. The channel's Living Truth. And I actually stumbled across Tammy's channel maybe, I don't know, about a year and a half ago, and I looked and I said, I know that person, and it's Tammy. I grew up with Tammy, and here she has this, this super popular channel. I was just blown away. So I reached out to Tammy, and we talked a little bit through email. And then we started the channel, and Tammy reached out to us actually to come on to the channel. So we are just super thrilled to have you here, Tammy. Thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me. Actually, when you reached out to me back then, because it's always kind of strange when, someone from your past emails you out of the blue and is watching, your channel. And I don't think I'm that popular, and it's more
well,
of
your
just
views would say otherwise.
Okay, well, I can't help that.
You got something. People like to see what you have to say.
Well, as long as it's a good message, that's all I can hope for.
It is. Well, I love your videos. They're awesome.
I'm really glad you guys started your format. I think there was a gap more recently as to having, this type of content. But you guys are really fun and upbeat, and it's kind of fun to watch. So yeah, thanks for starting it up.
Hey, that's great. You had mentioned something prior to us recording here that, and the whole basis of this channel is actually not just for Nash and I to run the show. Other people can come on too and be guests or host an episode and interview other people. Yeah. We've actually Jason Wynn has talked about maybe having all the members of EXA having them on, and we really hope that happens one day. Except for one. Oh yeah. I don't think Lloyd will be on that one.
Oh, what's EXA? I don't really. That's how out of things I am sometimes.
Yeah, EXA is so the Australian Royal Commission was the Australians' investigation into child sexual abuse.
Right.
Well, the UK did one as well.
England and Wales, actually.
I did see that. The acronyms, sometimes they just get lost, really.
Hey,
right?
I'm with you. I am totally with you.
Well, and there's two ICSA acronyms, right? There's the Cultic Studies one, which is just ICSA. And then there's the IICSA, which is the International Inquiry into Child Sex Abuse, which is the ICSA Jason's talking about.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just to confuse it.
Yeah. Anyway, the point is, that's what this this channel's for, and I hope that that invitation is for sure open to you, Tammy. And actually, I think you had mentioned that you might mirror this episode on your channel too. Hey, that might happen.
Yeah, I would love to put it on my channel, and because my viewers haven't seen me being interviewed. Before. This is my first interview, so exciting.
Well, speaking of you being interviewed, a lot of people know you more than they know Nash and I, but still, why don't you kind of give us an introduction to yourself and your life in the Jehovah's Witness organization? Get as detailed as you want, and yeah, just tell us all about you.
Oh, exciting. Not so exciting, probably. Let's see here. I was born into the third generation. So I've, third generation XJW. It's kind of funny when you do bios like this, right? Third generation XJW.
Yeah.
And, but yeah, so my grandparents, I think you knew my grandparents, Greg.
Yeah.
But they were like special. Sometimes I forget even the verbiage of it all, right? But they're like special, regular, or super duper pioneers. But yeah, my whole life, they went to serve where the need was greater, that sort of thing. My parents also, they've done, serving where the need was greater. They also regular and special pioneers.
I think the last time I met your parents, they were pioneering. I think so.
Yeah, I can't remember when they haven't been pioneering, actually. But yeah, so very devout family that I came from. And then a lot of family that I just never grew up with at all because they weren't Jehovah's Witnesses. So, I've gotten to learn or get to know some of my other side of the family that were never really allowed to be around us, I guess. So, but yeah, that's kind of my rundown. I did do pioneering. I was a pioneer, but just one of those auxiliary pioneers.
Yeah.
So actually around this time of year, when they put out the call for pioneers in the congregation, and then you're guilted into signing up.
Yeah.
Actually, I think it was your brother.
Yeah.
He guilted him right back, and he had to sign up 1 year.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I think my family's third generation too, maybe fourth. Well, no, third gen. I think it's third generation actually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I know a lot of your family. You and I go quite a ways back, but it's kind of interesting when we think about, our families and what got us in the first place. And
it's I remember one of my family members saying to me once, this is my brother actually said, you know what? It is possible to be born into the true religion, Greg. It is possible.
Apparently.
Which one would that be?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that's why I named my channel Living Truth, because, taking a pun stab at the truth part, from what we grew up with, but then living your real truth is, your being, your actual being. So, and unfortunately, there's other channels out there that are like uber Christian, but anyways, I'm on the other side of it.
Yeah. Don't worry, we're not uber Christian here. Nash is though.
Yeah, extremely. So, I love Jesus.
Oh,
that's why I wear this.
I can't actually see it in my camera, but
I just wear a cross because I'm very blasphemous.
Yeah, it's burning. It's burning on his chest right now.
And I named my cat Jehovah.
Oh wow, nice.
Yeah. Nice. A lot of angry people.
His cat, Jehovah the Cat. Tell us about Jehovah the Cat, Nation. What is it? It's your Instagram account, right?
It is an Instagram account for the cat, yeah. But I don't do much with it anymore. But I used to post little parody stuff about the day's text and
I love that.
Whatever stuff about it. But yeah, it's a funny thing because my daughters, they refuse to call him Jehovah because their mom is a witness. But my stepsons, they call him Jehovah, like whatever. And so it's funny when other people will ask, like, "Oh, just what a nice cat. What's his name?" And you're like, Jehovah. They're like, "What?" Jehovah. I don't know. I know lots of dogs named Zeus and Buddha, and he's just another god name to me. So I thought it'd be funny to do it. And
that's blasphemous.
It's great.
That's the most blasphemous thing I've ever heard.
My ex-wife brought it up in our divorce proceedings at court. The judge read it out that he named his cat Jehovah. So that's
significant.
It's very controversial.
Listen, there is other YouTubers out there that have cats on their channel. We know who we're talking about here.
Yeah.
JW Thoughts, great channel. You guys should check it out. So we should have Jehovah the Cat on one day.
Yeah,
I'd like to see Jehovah.
He's very overweight.
I didn't even know he existed, actually.
Yeah, he does. He lives in my house.
I've always wondered where he was.
So, exactly.
Where are you? Do you pray to him?
Yeah. We all spent a lot of time in our life talking to Jehovah. He never talked back. Little did we know he didn't talk back because he's a cat.
Because he's a
cat. Sometimes I heard meowing, but I didn't realize why.
Now you know. Now we all know.
Now we know.
Oh, yeah.
You guys are bad. You guys are gonna get taken in the back. Elders meeting for both of you.
Oh, well, it is a scary thing when you first leave and when you start having different type of thoughts like that. Like I don't know if we can talk about this right now, but made me think of when I left, and I'd never lived on my own. I just was separating from my husband, and got this basement suite, and I'm like, it was super scary. I was in my 35 when I moved out on my very own. Anyways, it was very scary. But the thing about that was super scary about it was that because I wasn't going to meetings, I really thought that the demons and Satan were going to attack me. Like this was a real thing that I thought was going to happen to me. I wasn't actually planning to leave the religion. That was not my thought. But yeah, isn't that just crazy? Like some of these things, like the Satan and the demons and like that fear process. Like I thought of that the other day. Just the idea of like, how did I ever think that? Like to have such a fear. Like I was crying, praying to Jehovah, not the cat. Back when I was in my basement suite, and I'm just like, please don't let Satan and the demons attack me. Like, isn't that just crazy? The things
it's funny. Yeah, it's funny you bring that up because this morning Lisa and my wife had a conversation about this exact thing because she's never been a witness, right? Has no background in that, and not even really religion in general. And I went to bed, and my daughter went to bed at 10 or 10:30, and her boys wanted to stay up because we were watching that Death on the Nile or something. It's a Disney movie, and they really wanted to finish it. They wanted to finish this movie. They refused to go to bed. But they didn't want her to go to bed because in case they got scared, the movie, she had to be with them, so she had to stay up with them. And so we were talking this morning a little bit. And she said, it's so weird how her kids are just, they have nightmares and they're scared from little scary movies, or not even scary, but like an action movie or something. Yeah. She said that anxiety, she can see it in my youngest daughter. She's a very anxious kid. And I know looking back how much anxiety I had my whole life, really, until I got out of this, this religion. Yeah. I was a super anxious person. I had a massive fear of the water, fear of heights. I work in construction and I could barely work on roofs and scaffold. Whereas now I do roofs a lot, and I've always worked on scaffold, and I don't have the same paralyzing fear that I did. So I don't know how you explain that, but I think the reality is we have so much anxiety built into us as little kids because we don't only think that there's something under the bed, but our parents think there might be something under the bed.
Our parents are telling us there is something.
I can tell my kids now that
in effect.
Yeah, this isn't real. Guys, this isn't real. Ghosts aren't real. None of this stuff is real. It's just a story. It's just a made up story because it's entertaining. But when we were kids, it was oh man, what, you had a bad dream? Well, what did you do at school? I remember my brother played with a Ouija board. And all of a sudden, my other brother saw a ghost and a witch coming across the room. And it's this is all in your head because you've been told this is what's going to happen. So now you think it's happening. You have bad dreams about it. And everybody it keeps just pumping the narrative up that, there's demons and ghosts. And this is why you got to listen to Jehovah. And he's the only one that can protect you. And you get these kids that are just stress cases. And it translates into adult life.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's a control factor. And most religions were put into place to control the public. And that was before governments were created. And so that is one of the main reasons that religions are so controlling. And that fear factor is the biggest part of it. You're going to die. You're not going to go to heaven. There's hell, whatever religion you believe in. There's a control factor there. And it's usually based on fear, if not always based on fear. And so as a, Jehovah's Witness growing up in that, we're constantly being bombarded with, Armageddon's coming tomorrow. You better be ready for it. And that's why I got baptized in the first place at the age of 13, because my dad said, you know what, if Armageddon comes tomorrow, you probably won't get through, because you're old enough to make this decision on your own, and Jehovah will look at that, and that was the narrative. And so I was so scared. Yeah. And I mean, but that's my dad also believing that from an organization that fuels, that.
And we all believe too. Like, I'm not looking down on your dad at all. We all believed it. I maybe even told my kids the same thing. I don't remember, but it's possible when I was in,
Oh yeah. I mean, even just crying over people that were disfellowshipped. Like, I'm so sad they're going to die. They're dying. They're basically dead. Like they don't have a chance, because they, if they're not coming back, yada, yada. And so I still have family that still cry over me, being, when I see them, they just get all teared up and sad. We wish you could come back, because I'm dead. I'm basically dead woman walking, which is like a sad way to live your life,
Yeah, it's, and back to this, it is, I totally resonate what you said about us believing in Satan and the demons. And it's funny, I was just thinking about this the other day. I think I was getting into the shower. I mean, I realized, you know what? I used to think like the devil and the demons were real. You know what I mean? I used to, and I used to live my life back, and it seems so odd to me now that I believe that, and that my family still, to say something about my there's actually members of my family that honestly think that there is specific demons that are after our family.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And there is family members now that think that I'm possessed by demons. Well, that's the only, you know what I mean?
No other explanation.
I think
if you're in a prostate, you must be possessed.
Yeah,
you're
for sure. For sure.
Satan has got control of your mind.
We'll have Callan back on the show again someday. But anyway, we interviewed him. He's a good friend of mine, and he has a lot of crazy stories. But the one story, anyway, some stuff happened, some like bad stuff that everybody got to get dealt with judicially and everything else. And his brother, who's an elder and super JW and also a giant asshole, he came in to, explain what had happened. And he said, you guys were watching a lot of like R-rated movies around that time. And so obviously the demons got to you. It's like, nope, that's not at all.
There's legitimate questions. There's legitimate problems.
It's like, see, you don't even have to take responsibility because the demons are really at fault.
Well, I saw. What's that, Tammy?
Oh, sorry. It's just such a simple answer to give people. Right?
Yeah, it is totally. And somebody, I saw a post just yesterday about gaslighting. Somebody's trying to figure out what gaslighting is, and there's a couple different definitions, and I kind of use the liberal definition of it. But it's really when anybody can deflect a question or an argument you have by just saying you're crazy. I don't need to answer your question. I don't need to deal with the problems with witnesses that you're bringing up with child sexual abuse or issues, other issues. I can just say that you're possessed by demons, and then I don't have to worry about what you have to say.
It's such simple ways to answer anything, really. Like either God will tell us in His own time. We'll either have light shed on this issue, or Satan's attacking us. Like these are such simplified things when there's so much more complexities that are actually happening in the world, and the worldly people. When did you guys start trusting worldly people?
That was it happened to me. I'll answer the Nash. I want to hear what you say too. That happened to me it was a real revelation to me, maybe a year. And I actually started to talk to worldly people, and I'm like kind of an open book. I talk too much. My now wife says I talk too much. Everybody knows I talk too much. But I was actually telling worldly people that it's so weird now to not look at you like you're evil. it's so, you know what I mean? Now I just look at you like a normal person, you know? I still have problems with like having good friends that are like, I don't think you have that problem, Tammy, making really good friends outside. You know, like I still kind of think of myself as a little different than people, and I kind of have a hard time relating to people sometimes. And that's a real lingering problem that has, you know, because of being raised in that organization. I just kind of feel different than everybody. But yeah, it didn't take me too long to not think that that witnesses were evil. I mean, sorry, worldly people were evil.
Freudian slip.
Yeah, exactly.
Whoops a daisies.
Yeah.
Oh, whoops. How do you really feel?
Yeah, I guess I didn't really, I don't know, when I got out, a lot of stuff had happened like around my life in general. So it wasn't like I just got to leave because I didn't believe anymore. Like, you know, I'm a little envious of these people that got to leave for conscientious reasons. I had to get kicked out and get my life burned to the ground before I decided, you know what, maybe I'm in a cult.
So my life burned to the ground too. But yeah, I know what you're saying.
So that was tough. But the reality is, like, once I got into a better place, once I dealt with everything and it was over, and I could see things clearly for the first time, really, after years of this. Then I started to notice worldly people that had known me my whole life, because I'm still in the same town that I grew up in. They started to kind of come out of the woodwork and show support and friendship, and it was really nice to see. You know, it made me realize that these people, they really care, because they've got no skin in the game. They don't owe me anything, and they get nothing out of being nice to me. Like, there's no payoff for them. So they just do it out of the goodness of their heart, because they're just good people that care, and they don't want to see somebody's life go to hell, right? They just want you to do well, and they're happy to see you do better. And so that was really great to see. Like, I mean, I think for the first time I saw real kind of that, I guess it's love, right? Like, we never had real love, because our love was gone with an announcement that we had from our families. And so that was interesting. But I guess like Greg said, I still have a hard time I have some good friends that I consider good friends, but I still kind of have a hard time making friends. I don't have like the buddies I had that I grew up with. And maybe that's just because you don't have those years of experience or you know, common experience together. So I have a little bit of a difficult time. And I find I'm a little bit sensitive when, you know, I think you're a little more on guard after this, because people turned on you so much. And, you know, there's always things that happen. Like, I talked to Greg about this, but a little while ago, some person who was upset with me for something foolish decided to spread rumors that I was abusing my wife, that I was beating my wife, and there was abuse in our household. And this was just a person, just an asshole that was just trying to, you know, they were mad about something and wanted to smear my name. And this got back to me, and like, it wasn't like I just brushed it off. Like, it really bothered me. Like, it really bothered me for weeks on end. And it made me more on guard, right? It makes, for some reason, I have this knee-jerk reaction now to pull back and just go and just want to be alone. Because I think when you're burned that hard, you don't trust anything anymore.
100%. I mean, I totally resonate with what you guys are saying. Like worldly people, when I was leaving, for instance, like I said, I wasn't planning to leave the truth.
Actually, yeah. Can you talk about that? Your like waking up process. Can you build that into what you're saying, what you're talking about here? I'm curious about that.
Yeah, I mean, so the waking up process, let's see here, probably separation and divorce. So when that was all coming down, like my husband cheated on me for multiple years. And, you know, when that was unveiled, you know, you go through a whole, like, holy cow, my life is just spinning out of control. But at the same time, I'm like, it's embarrassing. I didn't want to tell anybody about what was happening. I was protecting the people that were involved. I didn't want them to get disfellowshipped. I didn't want to have repercussions on something that happened in the past, but, you know, it's very much right in the front of my face at the moment. So I said, you know what, we don't need to do this. We don't need to go to the elders and all this and basically spread out our whole life on somebody else's desk. And so they can kind of pick through it and do that. So I said, you know what? No, let's not do this. And so, but I am leaving you anyway. I just couldn't stay with somebody who's, cheated on me to that extent. So anyway, so I left, like I said, I got my first basement suite, all this kind of stuff. And at the same time, I mean, it was extremely confusing, as anyone would know, going through any kind of like shakeup in your life as to what to do. I stopped going to meetings just because I was so stressed. I didn't want people asking me about, why aren't you guys sitting together and, having these kind of things. Because when I was going to the meetings after I left him, it was so weird. He's on one side of the hall, I'm on another. And then sometimes we sat together, and then people are all, you can just hear it. This little
and the witnesses with the rumor mill, that would have been like the talk of the town.
It was brutal. Small town, right? So small town, everyone knows your dirt. And I was trying to avoid that. Like, I was like, nobody needs to know that. They're not involved on the day-to-day of my relationship, 17 years. Why would they be there at the end of it? Like, I'm not one to throw someone out in the garbage anyways. Like, I value people, most people. It's just like
that value you.
Yeah. But so then I stopped going to meetings. I'm just like, it's so anxiety ridden, and I was so stressed about it. Plus I was really busy at work at the time too. And then just moving and just all this stuff, right? It was havoc. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to like take some time away from the meetings because it's just too much right now.
That was your first mistake.
It was a mistake.
Yeah, that's the waking up stuff. When you stop going to meetings.
No, it's just a lack of Holy Spirit. Come on.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
That's when you really start to wake up.
Satan's got his claws in me. He's trying hard. But yeah, so then I just stopped going to meetings. And then what actually woke me up was, because my ex was still going to meetings. And then he would tell me, because we were still talking and everything. And he's like, he goes, what is it? Oh yeah. So some people would give him like casseroles or some food thing, like, poor him. Like,
poor
you. Like,
poor
as if
guy.
I did something wrong, right? And I'm like, well, that's bullshit. Like, I didn't do anything. But
you're stopped going to meetings, and he's going to meetings. Yeah. So obviously you're the one that's the bad one.
I'm the bad one. Yeah. So I'm the bad one. So I'm like, well, that's shit. Like, that's just wrong that I'm being judged like this. And they have no clue. So, where's the love? Because I started thinking, like, where's the love? Like, here I'm on my island now because nobody's around me. No one's calling me. How are you? Nothing. And except for my ex. and then
funny how that works.
Yeah. He wants me back.
Probably.
Yeah, there's lots of that. But anyway, but then the other thing was, like, I only had like one friend, my best friend, who Greg.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Very,
very well.
Very well. Anyways, she was like, you need to start coming back to meetings and all this, which was basically, I think she was telling me, like, you need to get back there to, people show you some love. But I was like, I just don't feel it. And then I just started feeling more and more like people were judging me, because they were. But I was like, why wouldn't, like, other people from the congregation who I was really close with. And I'm like, where are they? Like, I'd call them up, nothing. They wouldn't call me back. And then they lied about calling me back to my one best friend. And I'm like, they're lying, like, because I would see it on my cell phone. There's technology that actually shows when someone calls you. Like,
exactly.
You don't call me. I haven't changed my number. So
yeah.
Anyways, I started just feeling like this whole, like, okay, Tammy's on her own island now and being judged pretty harshly for something that nobody even knows why they're doing that. So yeah, so that was kind of where I started, like, where's the love? Conditional versus unconditional, and really looking at that. But yeah, that was my wake up process. It had nothing to do with doctrine or anything. I've had questions around that my whole life, but that wasn't what it was.
Yeah.
It was, my own personal life.
It's interesting, all the different things that have that end up getting people to wake up, there's a real wide spectrum of things. Like, for me, it was the thing that started it was actually a friend of mine started complaining about how the Watchtower doesn't allow us to get educated. And it's such a small thing, but it was the first time where I allowed myself to be critical of the organization. That was the first time. And then once you allow yourself to do that once, well, then the cards start to fall. And then you start, okay, you ask that little question, and then you start asking bigger questions, and then I met with the elders like multiple times. What about this? And what about that? And what about this? And what about that? And, it's just, it all fell apart.
Because, so then what really was the clincher for me for never going back was, so my ex, he goes, how you're being treated is not fair. Like, it's so unfair to you. Like, he's being like coddled, poor him. And, here I'm out on my own island. So he's like, I have to tell the elders. And I'm like, don't do it. Like, whatever, I can deal with this. And he goes, no, this isn't fair to you. So, that was nice for him, I guess, to actually care to a certain extent. So he did. He went and talked to the elders. So the next day I get a phone call from, people, Greg.
Relatives maybe.
And so then one of the elders started just basically hounding me at work and just all these kind of things, right? Like, and I'm like, what do you think you're going to actually tell me that I don't know about being in a marriage for 17 years? Like, do you really think I don't know how to like be a wife or, as God wants me to be, this kind of thing that we were taught. Anyway, so once my ex confessed, I guess, he ended up getting reproved, but then everybody—
He didn't get disfellowshipped, hey?
No, it was, I guess, I don't know why, honestly. Like, it was too many years passed. I really don't know what the whole reasoning is. And really, I think it all depends on what who's in your committee, what kind of relationship you already have.
And how big a deal it is in the hall, right?
How many people know about it?
How many people know, right? It's fairly quiet. It's
just reprove it. Ridiculous. But so, they reproved him, publicly reproved, take away all of his mic handling abilities. Just the whole, we're privileged.
Oh, no, I can't hand out the mic
anymore.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
So, it was crazy. But so then I got this elders meeting. So we want to meet with you. And so I'm like, fine. They wanted to come to my home, which I'm like, nobody was allowed to come to my new home because I needed my own oasis kind of thing. So I didn't even I didn't let anyone know where I was living because I didn't want 100 Jehovah's Witnesses knocking on my door every Saturday, which I knew would happen. And anyway, so I didn't.
Let's go see Tammy.
So I said,
let's count time and go see Tammy.
Yeah, she needs some encouragement. So I said, let's meet in a restaurant because that way I knew I could just leave, right? If something went down and I wouldn't be trying to get them out of my home.
Yeah.
So just a tip for anybody out there who's like, thinking of leaving and wanting to meet with the elders and they say, come to your home. Don't do it. Go somewhere where you can leave. It's really important.
That's a great tip, actually. We're going to release that as a separate video.
Otherwise, you're going to be making cookies and getting them coffee.
Oh, right. I know.
You remember that video about that elders training video where they talk to the grieving widow? Have you seen that one?
It's terrible.
Yeah. It is awful. It is awful. She's crying and they're just like, and then she gets up to make them coffee and get them cookies. And the elder like looks up and he's like, thank you, Jehovah. It's like, what does this even mean? Like this is insane. It was insane. And this is how they're training the people that are supposed to be helping these grieving widows and people with serious problems. So if you haven't seen it, you got to see it. Maybe we should.
Yeah, I try not to watch too many videos on JW.org because they make me throw up. So it's, there's just too much, like, it's so cringy, right? It's so cringy.
Yes.
And it's shocking that that's where they've led the organization now to be all video oriented. Yeah. And even the children's videos, the cartoons, you guys have seen those, right? Like,
they're gross.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Those ones make me the angriest of all.
Right? Like, how can you get deep programming? Some of those songs, like, I still had the tunes in my head after. I'm like, this is like so culty. It's just sick. It's so bad.
It's straight out of 1984. You know,
it is.
It's so bad. But yeah, so anyway, after that happened, where I met with these elders, and I'm like, and I was so pissed off. I was so mad that now, after 3 months of, everyone kind of vacating, my island, now I get this elder shepherding call, right? And so we're in the restaurant, and I go, well, and they're both on one side and I'm on the other side, like it was not comfortable. And I said, I'm just going to have tea, kind of thing. Like I didn't want to sit for a whole meal because, that's also commitment to the meal.
You're trying to figure out any way to keep this meeting as short as possible.
I know, because I was so mad. I was just so upset.
Yeah.
And that they...
But you don't want to say anything to get yourself DF.
Oh, sorry? What was that?
You don't want to say too much to get yourself like accidentally disfellowshipped or something. You know what I mean?
Totally. It wasn't even on my mind, honestly. Because I'm like, how would they? Why would they?
Exactly.
But I was so pissed off that they took this length of time, especially the shepherding overseer or whatever he's called. Is that what it is? Congregation overseer? Who I thought was...
it's a Kobe now, but it was the presiding overseer used to be. Is that what you're talking?
Back then it would have been,
Yeah. And so I was like, why did it take you guys so long? Like you thought I was the bitch that left my husband, and you're all like putting so much emphasis on poor him, and nobody, like everyone just like judged me so bad. So I had my full out spiel on them, how I felt. And I was just like, how could you call yourself like shepherds when here I am, like I'm hurting, and I'm just like, and here now 3 months later, now because he confessed to you last night, this is where you are in front of me trying to save my life because, I wasn't worth saving 3 months ago. You're just letting me go. So I was so pissed off, and I'm like, and he goes, you don't have to use that language. Because I said, bitch. And I was like, I'll use whatever language I want. I was just so mad. I was like,
red flag.
You're worrying about the wrong thing here. Here, there's a person hurting who's upset about something, and they're worried about the words you're using. Just ridiculous.
Oh my gosh.
I think this point is incredibly important. So I just want to kind of focus in on it because this reminds me of a situation that's very close to my heart. So I can't get too much into the details of it, but the reality is in this organization, when something bad happens or somebody's victimized, how that person is judged depends 99% on whether or not they believe that the Jehovah's Witnesses are right or that they're going to continue going to meetings.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So if a person is hurt and they just kind of disappear, like you did a little bit, right? Like you go off on your own and you just need some space. You don't go to the meetings very much. Immediately, the elders are looking at you like something's wrong. They're spiritually weak. Obviously, Satan has got to them. Where on the other hand, the other person who abused somebody or committed something, some kind of even a sin according to Jehovah's Witnesses, if they are one of those people that goes right back to the hall and they're friendly with people and they cry to the elders and they continue to talk about how this is the only way of life and I love Jehovah and I've hurt Jehovah and I feel so terrible for how Jehovah feels. They know all the things to say. Those people will always be supported by the congregation. Always. The elders will always be on their door. They will always speak highly of them. And if that person that was victimized never comes crawling back, begging for forgiveness for leaving for a bit, they will just continue to abuse them and they will kick them to the curb and they don't care what happens to them. While these other people they'll be propped up, supported, loved, and 9 times out of 10, those people years down the road will pull the same shit again in another way because obviously there was something wrong with them. In most cases, this isn't 100% of the time, but I know from experience, in most cases, these people end up doing the same thing again. And the same cycle happens again. And these are generally the people they'll screw up again and they'll just be like, I'm sorry, I love Jehovah, I want back. And they'll just keep coming back and back. And the congregation will keep having them back. But the people that get so hurt that they leave, they don't care what happens to them.
Yeah, it's not the people, it's the organization. That's what's most important. It's the organization.
Yeah. I mean, it's a skewed point too. The point of like, is it a person or is it the organization, right? Before I got down that path, Nash, I totally agree. And to your point, that was my last meeting with any elders. Like they didn't follow up after that. These are people that I've been in the congregation for like 23 some years. I think
they knew you your whole life.
Some of my life, yeah. But who I thought were friendly. We had like lots of awesome conversations and just like, we hung out with them. They were our friends. So there was very odd, like disappearing act of my friend base, my community. So, but it all comes down to optics, what are they seeing? So those elders saw exactly what the rest of the congregation saw, and that's why they all pulled back. Well, she left her husband, so she's obviously in the wrong. They were all going after on the optics of it, not on the reality, not on, actually talking to me as a real person. They were only caring about
real love for their, these are supposed to be shepherds of the congregation. They're supposed to care about the people. You know what I mean? Instead, it's the optics. That's what's most important.
It's optics. Yeah. Because even at that meeting in the restaurant with these two elders, and they both came, they were totally dressed up, like going to a meeting, and they both had their Bibles in their hand, and I didn't. I came from work, so I'm like, I'm dressed appropriately for work attire, but I'm like, And so they're trying to open up the scriptures, and I stopped them. I said, I don't want to hear any, like, I've heard it all. Like, do you really think that I don't know the scriptures?
My whole life, I've heard this.
Yeah, it's so crazy that's going to turn me back. Like, I'm mad right now. So do you think the scripture is going to calm this one down?
I've heard that scripture thousands of times.
Like, that was more infuriating than anything. Like, let's turn to 1 Corinthians, I'm like, you know what? No, this is not how I can do this today.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
But yeah. So then after that.
Yeah, they love to carry the Bible around. That's it's funny because you notice that with false religion. So pretty much every other Christian denomination. I've watched all these documentaries on them, and you see the preacher, even these charismatic preachers, getting interviewed by the reporters. And they'll have this great big Bible, and they'll be like holding it up here by their heart or whatever. And Jehovah's Witnesses, we always thought we were so different. They're the same. There's old what's his face on the ARC giving his Jeffrey Jackson, and he's got his Bible out. Every time you see an elder in court, they got their Bible out. And it's like, you guys, what are you doing? Do you have your Harry Potter book in court? It's the same damn thing. The court doesn't give two shits what your book says. So leave it at home. And they think, I got God with me here, guys. You better look out.
Yeah. Well, there is power. I mean, in the court, they've always used the Bible, like to swear on the Bible, right? That you're going to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, blah, blah, blah. That's a thing, right? So there is a power there that I think most Christians, not just Jehovah's Witnesses, believe that when you hold the Bible, I felt power coming out of that book at one point.
It's the sword of the Spirit.
Right? Totally.
Judge people like crazy.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. But there's definitely a power behind that book.
All scripture is inspired and beneficial.
Yeah.
All the words.
Especially that story about Lot and his daughters. It's inspired and it's beneficial for I don't fucking know what. Stories about guy getting your dad drunk and getting pregnant by him.
That's gross.
How's that beneficial? It's just disgusting.
No, Nash, don't disagree with us here. Don't bring up logic, please. We don't need that.
It is funny though to look back on when people bring up 3,000 years ago how King Solomon did this and that, and that's what we're supposed to go by. Like, what about all the millions of people that have contributed to society and the goodness of the world and what have you since then? Like, why can't we look at them as an example? That always bugged me.
Yeah.
Well, not and you're looking back to individuals that had an archaic view of the world too. They didn't know about the and just think of if you were to go back and talk to Solomon about his opinion of women, what do you think Solomon would say? Do you think Solomon would be like, yeah, you know what? I think women and men are equal in society. And, I think he'd be pretty shocked. He would think women are probably similar to cattle. And we're going to listen to this guy?
I mean, he would ask me to be his concubine, probably.
For sure. Yeah.
Definitely.
Thousands, wasn't it? Thousands of.
Oh, yeah. He's like, I just might as well have another one.
But,
But Solomon, we got to live by Solomon's words because
he was so wise.
Guy. Yeah. No. I always said, what if Moses came to visit me today, would he even know how to survive? Calling up an Uber and taking a taxi or like going to get groceries. Like, I'm sorry, there's no way that they could relate to our life as we know it now. So how are we supposed to relate to their life as we know it in the Bible? Like, it's so archaic.
That's a great point. So true.
Yeah, we don't farm and herd cattle like them anymore either. So why would we base every other part of our life like them? I don't.
Totally.
Well, you know what? I'm just having a great time with you, Tammy. I mean, we've got like a whole bunch of questions here, and we've only got like the first one.
It's going to be that kind of day.
Can we talk about, we're having a lot of fun here, but I'm going to be Debbie Downer a little bit. And,
Gross.
You
David
have,
Downer?
What's that?
David Downer.
Dave Downer. Yeah, whatever. Sure.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever floats your boat, Greg.
Whatever. Yeah. I like Debbie Downer better. You can call me Debbie for the rest of the show.
All right. Can you change your name on there?
Yeah.
Bring us down a notch, Debbie.
Okay, Here we go.
Getting serious.
Death. We've talked a little bit about funerals and JW funerals, and how weird and actually, a funeral is supposed to be about the memory of the death of the person that's died, and how they just turned it into a converting seminar. You have some experience with that. More, maybe a little bit more than most, or can you talk about that a little bit and your experiences there?
Yes. Now we go into the dark side of Tammy.
Yeah, let's go to the dark side.
Let's dim the lights.
This channel's all about.
Light some candles.
Yeah.
Get your Ouija board out. No,
yeah.
I have never played one of those. I don't know.
Neither have I, actually.
Right.
But
okay, before we digress to the Ouijas. Okay, so my first memory in my life is actually the day the day my brother died. Okay. So, death has been something that's very, this is kind of weird to even say, near and dear to my heart. I don't know. It's kind of a strange.
Well, me and Nash have the same feeling. Like, I don't know if you know, my brother died. Like, do you know that Brian passed away? I might be.
No, I didn't. No, I didn't know that. Maybe I did know that. I sort of feel like there's something I might have seen online somewhere, or.
Yeah. So my younger brother, Brian, passed away, and Nash, we've dealt with Nash's brothers passing. Nash has two brothers that have passed away, actually. So yeah, this is a big deal for us, actually.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So same here. So I'll try not to be too happy about it. Talking about it.
Yeah.
It's
we
nervous.
Can laugh.
I laugh when I'm nervous. Okay. So
I get it.
Smiley. It's more that I'm just nervous, even just sometimes talking about these things because they're so, close to.
Yeah.
Well, the first memory of my life is the day my brother died in a farming accident in Alberta. And I'm not going to go too deep into it, but that was my first memory. Then probably the next memory is his funeral. And it was at the Kingdom Hall, of course. And it was open casket, as a lot of things were done back then. You don't really see open casket as much anymore. But in Alberta, like, I don't know if Nash,
when I was I'm in Alberta. I'm from Alberta. It was pretty common when I was like young, when I was a kid, right? How old were you when that happened?
I was 4.5.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyways, but some of the things that stick out were just odd. Like, I don't remember the talk or anything like that. I remember looking at my shoes a lot because I knew I had to be sad, but I didn't understand it. But I do remember the open casket. My brother's there. I don't remember seeing him, thank goodness, because that's probably crazy.
Yeah.
But I remember people going past it, and the casket was at the very front of the hall, like right in front of the stage, and it was open. And so then people would go by and, see him, and like this whole procession of people. And I just remember my friend at the time, Paula, I'll say her name because I don't even know who she is or where she is now. But little Paula, she was my age, and she was on the shoulders of her dad going through. And it bugged me so much because it looked like it was like a circus. Like, I just remember thinking, this isn't a circus, like, to go and see my brother. Like, it bothered me then. But then throughout my life, like, our family never dealt with it. Like, I have 2 other sisters, so there's 3 of us. At the time when my brother died, my mom was pregnant with my younger sister. And so, the amount of like stress, through my parents is just unbelievable. I can only imagine, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they have shared more of that more recently, which is also just heartbreaking. And so I give them a lot of leeway when it comes to the Jehovah's Witness stuff, because the stuff they've gone through is completely traumatic and tragic. So through my life, though, there is no really grief counseling. It's all about like praying about my brother coming back in the paradise after Armageddon and the resurrection and all of this. So this was our hope. Every single prayer I can ever remember my dad giving was about seeing my brother in after the resurrection, right? And so there's no grief counseling. So I was actually very kind of an angry person. I think, like, with my parents, I was just so upset with them, and I didn't know why.
Yeah, you didn't know where it came from. Yeah.
No, forever. Like, until I think I was in my late 20s when I was talking to a friend of mine. I couldn't actually say my brother's name until I was like 25. I just couldn't deal with it. I was so upset about it. And I would just cry, like, even just saying his name, I couldn't even do it up until I was 25 and started talking about it and realizing, okay, I have to process. This is a process. And that's what grief counseling is. They get you to talk about things that you can move forward. I mean, that's counseling
in general.
101 general. Yeah. Where you talk about things, and that's why channels like these are important, where we tell our stories, because we're processing out traumatic stuff that's happened in our life, and hopefully someone else can maybe find comfort in it, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of the general part of it. But so that was my first funeral. I've always been interested in what happens, like, to the dead bodies. I know this goes weird. This maybe is just weird.
All right,
you're weird and cool, Tammy. You're cool, weird.
We're going to. Can you dim the lights more?
I wish I could. I would. I don't have the technology.
Green screen.
Yeah.
So anyway, one of the jobs I worked is a Chamber of Commerce, and they would do these business after hours type of things, where you'd go to a business and they would tell you, basically give you insight about what they do, and you kind of it's a networking thing. Well, one of these businesses happened to be a funeral home, and I'm just like, I am so interested, like, in everything. And so he's taking us all in this tour, and I'm like, can we go on a tour? And he's like, yeah. And so I'm the only one wanting a tour in this whole group of people.
That's awesome.
And I'm excited.
Can't imagine why.
So weird, right?
That's so cool.
So we go in the back room where nobody gets to go ever, really. And you're seeing all these like tables and everything, all the things to like take the blood out of the person, and, and right into the inferno of like how to, burn the bodies and all this kind of stuff. I was so curious about it all. And then I'm like, well, I'm asking every question, and people are like kind of looking at me. But I'm like, I don't care. Like, I'm just curious, because I've had so many people that have died in my life where I'm just like, well, that happens when they go into a casket. What happens before then? And what if they are cremated? What happens to, how do you know that they're actually, those are their ashes? And then what happens if not everything's burned? Anyway, so I was asking all of these type of very touchy type of questions. I didn't feel were touchy. I just felt they were just interesting, right?
Just wanted to know.
Yeah. So anyways, so there's that little side of me, kind of that. And then also because like I had so on my side of the family, my grandpa died. My mom's father died. He was never in the religion. But he also had an open casket, but it wasn't for the funeral. It was, you could go and have a viewing, as is maybe more common.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
I've never been seen any a person that's passed away like an open casket or viewing. I've never seen any of that before.
Oh
yeah, they did a viewing for my brother, but I didn't
really.
Go. Yeah. Yeah.
Huh. Yeah. No, and we also did a open casket there. We didn't do it. We went to one, me and my ex-husband, for his uncle, and then also his grandma, who also were not in the religion. And that was going into a Catholic, old Catholic Orthodox little church. And that was very weird experiences, and I was a Jehovah's Witness then too. So it was kind of frowned on in doing that in the first place, but that was also open casket. So yeah, I've seen a lot of that. And also my great grandparents. There's a lot of open caskets. So I guess that's why I probably have more of I don't know if it's a fascination. I wouldn't want to go that far, but with
interest.
Yeah.
Well, can I go back? I kind of want to ask something here.
Yeah. There's so much to talk about here.
There is. I want to go back because there's something that I noticed. So you were, 4.5 or so when your brother had passed. Now, do you have much for memories of your brother, like real memories, or just kind of pictures and that sort of thing?
Yeah, more pictures, and then just feelings of like I'm pretty sure I remember things, but it's more of just I think a feeling. Like he was my first playmate I ever had. Right. Like when I were so close. We were 13 months apart. So yeah, and then just like none of my family even talked to me about it until I brought it up when I was like in my 20s.
Yeah, so that's
like, we didn't think you would remember anything like that,
Mm-hmm. So that's kind of what I wanted to kind of touch on is I think sometimes when we lose someone as kids, I was quite a bit older, right? I was 11 when my oldest brother was killed. And so I have some memories of him, but the reality is I don't have that many because he was 10 years older than me. Right. So we weren't like close buddies or anything, right? He was moved out of the house at that point. And so I don't, I have some memories, but nothing really. But you can't discount kids' grief. And I think there's something to be said there that's really important for kids that grow up in families that are grieving, because we may look at them like, well, they don't even remember. But that kid was a part of a family that was grieving. Yeah. You were a part of a family whose parents had just gone through the worst trauma of their life. I think that losing a child is probably the worst trauma you can go through in your life.
I think so.
And I think we were all part of that as kids.
Yeah.
And growing up in this household that's grieving, but has no idea how to grieve and has had their grief hijacked into prayer and waiting for paradise to have them back again. And I think kids get overlooked a lot in that sense, right? Where people just kind of write it off like they were just little. What's the big deal? And like you said, it took you into your adult life to start processing it and dealing with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the family doesn't, it's like, I have a lot of experience in this too, which I haven't actually mentioned on this channel, but my father died when I was 2. And nobody talked about it. Like I literally didn't know his name till I was like in my teen years.
Wow.
Oh yeah. And so yeah, it's like witnesses, for whatever reason, they don't grieve properly. They just put everything on hold until they're going to see him or her again in the new system. Yeah. And so there's all these emotions that nobody deals with, and it messes you up.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, like to be fair, there was no taboo. Like it was taboo to actually have a counselor anyway, back in, the day when my brother died. But there was also a way, I know that there was, well, I shouldn't say no, because I didn't even read really back then. I don't know, but I'm sure there were ways to handle grief that would be better than just praying about someone. And that's the only way you talk about them. Like, we didn't talk about him at all, except prayer. And it was just too hard, I think. But also, Nash, like to your point too, like for children, my older sister, she was, she's 3 years older than me. And so she would have been like 7.5 or something like that, going on 8 maybe. But anyways, she was there when it happened, when the actual accident happened. And and she also, I mean, to this day, I think she's still very wound up about it.
Yeah.
And she won't talk about it. She doesn't talk about it.
Yeah, my brothers were there with my brother. It was a motorcycle accident. And same thing. It was like this weird, I don't know. I think it's funny, not funny. As a witness, you go to people's doors and you're like, we have the answer. Did you lose somebody in death? I've got this pamphlet here it's going to make you so happy. And it's crazy to think that you're telling people that when you've experienced it and it doesn't make you happy. I've seen it in my own family. This is not the answer. You're telling people this is the answer and that you're going to be happy. I've seen my mom and dad. They're not happy. They're not, they haven't grieved properly, and they're broken people to this day, hanging on to this hope because they think that'll fix it. And it breaks my heart to see that waste of life over something that could have been, it's not like it gets like easier or better, but there are healthy ways to deal with it where you can continue life and you can hold on to the things that you still have and appreciate them more than maybe you did before. And witnesses get so caught hanging on to this imaginary hope that's all they have left.
I totally agree. And I see that with my parents too. And I mean, that's even just recently, I was invited from my mom to go to the memorial. And then also why it's so important for Jesus' ransom, because then, all these things. And then basically also in her same invite, talking about, my brother and my grandpas and my grandmas, all these people and other people who have died, how we're all going to welcome them back. And we want you there as well so that you can help welcome them back too. And this is a narrative that I've heard my entire life. Like, we want to be there for when your brother wakes up. Otherwise, he's going to be all alone. Like, you don't want him to be alone. Like this whole thing, that
such manipulation. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you tell someone something enough, like this, like Nash, when you're saying, here's a pamphlet on how to be happy, or here's a pamphlet on how to deal with grief. And if you say that enough times, you begin to believe it. And that's the programming that has happened from the Jehovah's Witness.
Even if you're experiencing the complete opposite, right? That's cognitive dissonance. It's like, I'm convinced this is the answer. Also, I'm experiencing that it's not the answer, but I've said it so many times, it doesn't matter. It is the answer. I'm doing something wrong if I'm not happy. This is on me.
Yeah, exactly. You're doing something wrong. You need to pray better. You need to get to more meetings. You need to be studying more, and rely on Jehovah. Like, why are you so sad? You shouldn't be sad or depressed. That's Satan's world. That's the sad part of it. There's no validation for how you feel. Right.
Yeah, I think the training for elders when they're helping grieving people is about 30 minutes. 30 seconds. They're just told, just tell them to go to the meeting and pray and read the Bible more.
Here's a list of scriptures. Read all these scriptures.
Yeah.
And that's it. And magic. Poof. Grief's gone.
It's all better.
I mean, it's sad because I feel sad for people like my parents, like your parents, who have not dealt with grief. And I mean, to my parents' point, probably about, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago, I want to say, my dad actually wrote out this massive, it was the day that my brother died. And how he went through it was basically a journal life of what happened that day. And it was so heartbreaking, but at the same time, I'm like, I'm so proud of him for, doing that, because that in itself is starting to process it. Like he could actually
healing.
talk about it. Healing. Yeah. And my mom did the same thing. And I, went through a whole other, like, cry fest, seeing how my parents, because they could not have that conversation in person ever. But to actually write it out was very important from a healing perspective, I think, which I don't think they're healed, but no,
but it
further along.
Yeah. And it's a process, right? That's the reality is it's a process. And we don't treat other things in our life like that. If I get shot with a cannon, I don't put a Band-Aid on it and walk around like I'm good now. My cannonball wound has a Band-Aid on it, so I'm going to be just fine. And so you can't do that with addiction. You can't do it with childhood trauma, grief. All they do is take this Bible Band-Aid, they stick it on, and they're like, if this doesn't make it better, it's your fault.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Let's leave that there. That could be like 5 episodes that we could talk about that. And we've already we've had this is our 7th episode, and it comes up every single time. And I'm like trying to hold back because I have so many things to that I could talk about in that topic. But Tammy, let's move on to your channel. We are super interested in how and why and when you started your channel, and how did that all come about, and what was the reason for that?
All right. Well, yeah, I think understanding a person's why for themselves is really important in starting channels or starting anything you do, really. But in respect to YouTube channel, that was not an easy one to start up, quite frankly. So why? So I published my first video on YouTube in December 2017. So leading up to that, so in May of that year, that was so my grandfather died in 2 years before that. Okay, so May 2015. So each year following, my plan was to always send my grandmother big bouquet of flowers or something that her and I always shared, and then just as in memory of my grandpa, because I knew she'd be thinking about that and hurting, and just they were very close, very loving, amazing people. So, and I was very close to them, very close. Like I was closer to my grandma as a relationship than my mom. That relationship was just very tight. And, so that and we were in the same congregation for quite a few years as well. But even before then, I was the one, I'd always sit on her lap, even as an adult. We always kiss each other on the mouth. We just we had a different relationship than,
it's like me and Greg.
Yeah. I'm not into the kissing on the mouth, but Nashon is. He loves that.
Right. Put you guys in the same room. You never know.
Yeah. One thing leads to another.
Very friendly.
Watch out. That'll be another episode, I'm sure.
Look at him. Look how good looking that guy is up there. It's ridiculous. He's hard to look at.
Yeah, that's for sure. Hard to look at.
Good to be open. It's good to be open to exploring things. I don't know. Anyways, back to my grandma kissing.
Sorry, that was my fault.
But so yeah, so in 2017, I had sent her flowers, and it was always a surprise. It wasn't something she was expecting. So I sent her, and so she texted me, or she phoned me. Anyways, I think she texted me, and she's like, "Oh my God, I got the she phoned me. Got the flowers. They're so beautiful." And she's crying. My grandma cried a lot. And so we all have that heritage of tears. But so she's like, "They're just so beautiful, and blah, blah, I love you." And, it was just our normal, how we are. Of course, I was not in the religion. I'd already been out of the religion for, I don't know, at least 7, 8, 9, maybe 9 years, 8 years, something like that. And I just been busy in life, busy just in life. And so I hadn't really explored too much of the EXJW community at all. Zero, actually. And that's important in a minute. But so leading up to this, I sent her that. And then she texted me back. And so we're going back and forth texting. My grandma was awesome texting. You could barely understand most of what she wrote.
Really?
Yeah.
That's unusual. That's awesome.
I know. She was like,
I would have liked to have met her. Maybe I did. I can't remember.
I feel like you must have at some point, maybe. But yeah.
If you said it, we won't say her name, but if you said her name, I'd probably be like, oh, that was your grandma. Right.
Yeah.
I have a bad memory.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, so then she's texting and I said, well, I'm actually going to come and visit you in a couple of weeks. I hadn't been up there for a bit and I really wanted to see them or her. My grandpa's dead by this point. And so everything's all happy, joy, all this. She, up to this point, like I said, she had actually been okay with me not being a Jehovah's Witness. Every time we talked, it was all about, you need to come back. We really, Jehovah will let you come back, like as the usual preach fest, but there is still love, right? There's still an acceptance of me. And I could never have seen that changing until I told her that I was coming to visit. And then she texted me and she said, I wrote it down here somewhere. Where does she write? Because I looked it up this morning. I'm like, oh my gosh. And she goes, text me about, that she loved the flowers and thoughtfulness, but she cannot associate with me anymore. And even though it hurts her, it's the right thing to do. So bye now and hope to see you in the new world. Love, Grandma. So I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
What a terrible religion.
Yeah, right? Like, I know this is not my grandma. And so I'm like, what the fuck? Like, and so I go, she can't break up with me over text. Like, this is my grandma. Are you kidding me? Yeah. Like, guys do that and they're dirtbags if they break up.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not going to let my grandma do that to me. So I phone her and I'm like, Grandma, what are you meaning? Like, why would you send that to me? That's so unloving. Like, that's so mean. And she goes, no, well, you're not married, because I was, living in sin at the time. And she goes, and you're not married. And so that's not acceptable. And I said, so what, if I get married, you're going to talk to me again? Like, what gives here? And she goes, well, no, you have to come back. And I said, are you kidding? I cannot ever come back. I don't believe it anymore. So you're telling me that I have to be a hypocrite to myself in order to have you love me or talk to me? Like, this is not right. And so we're having this conversation. I'm like, I'm dumbfounded. I'm like, how do you even reason with someone? I mean, you can't reason with unreasonable people in the first place, right?
Or with people that are involved in a cult.
Unreasonable.
Yeah, you can't.
They're unreasonable.
Same.
Yeah. So this is where we're at. And I'm just like, Grandma, you can't, like, this is so unloving. And anyway, so then I go, so if I start coming back to meetings, you're going to talk to me? I go, do you realize how, like, you're sounding like this is so culty? She goes, it's not a cult. And so we had a little quick snippet of a chat about that. And I said, well, what about my sisters, my cousins? They're baptized and they don't believe anymore. So what, are you going to start shining them and start, She goes, well, I haven't done that yet, but I'm going to talk to them.
Thanks for the reminder.
Like,
yeah.
I got to get writing.
Yeah. Well, she didn't actually do it. And so
do you think that she do you think that she had heard, like, there was a recent part at a convention or a meeting or something 100%. That kind of got her thinking about that?
Well, I think so. And I asked her that. I said, was there a special needs talk lately? Like, to stop talking to unbelieving family members? Because that's pretty typical. And she goes, no, like, really quickly, no. And I said, well, or is there an article or something like that's come out in, one of the magazines? She's like, nope, this is my decision and da, da, da. And I go, this is not you. This is not you. This is not how you treat your family. This is not right. Anyway, she goes, well, this is right. And it went on kind of a bit more. And then she hung up on me. And so I was just like, I was so torn up about it. I was so heartbroken. So I sent her a text, and I never quote scriptures anymore, but I did. And I'm like, 1 Corinthians 16:14, like, do everything in love, right? And because I'm like, this is not loving. And I told her too, I said, if Jehovah is truly a loving God, he would not really allow this to happen. Like, he wouldn't make you want to do this to me, right? This is not love. So anyways, from that point, so that year was like extremely hard. It basically opened up this chasm of, I guess, trauma that I hadn't really, I hadn't really peeled away like the onion is. I hadn't gone down that path of really, what happened around my divorce and what happened when I was first disfellowshipped when I was 17, when I got married. My more recent shunning. How about my parents shunning me on and off for many years? My brother dying, like everything just kind of like blew out in my brain and in my life. And I was just like so depressed. Even from the point of like, well, why bother? Like getting to that point of like, where you start thinking like that's the end. Or like, why even keep going, right?
Right.
And so, yeah, I was like very, very in a very, very bad place that I haven't been in for a long time since then, thank goodness. But yeah, I hadn't really dealt with depression ever. And I think that's part of the problem at that time, because you kind of stuff things away. As these things happen to you, especially maybe as a Jehovah's Witness, I think I've seen that a lot with people I've talked with, where you kind of just cram it down. If you think about that, you know what, Jehovah will answer that eventually. Just cram that away. Same way, if you're not feeling happy, put that away and say a prayer. You should read this Bible scripture or this article or whatever. Like, you just cram all these feelings that, are absolutely something that you should deal with. You cram them away. And then when something actually triggers it to open up that vault, it
erupts.
It erupts. And it was bad. It was really bad. Anyway, so where we got to my channel is that I started, sorry for the long.
No, hey, it's your show. Your show.
But where I was like, okay, I need to start writing. And I've always journaled, and that was one of my, it's a therapy in itself. And I like journaling. I like writing. And so I'm like, I think I'm just going to start writing a book. And so I started writing chapters and all this kind of stuff. And then I was like, this is going to take forever. I really want to talk it out.
It's hard writing a book.
Yeah. The book's shelved at the moment because I was also thinking what am I going to put in it that I don't hurt other people? Because I don't want to hurt my ex.
That's probably impossible.
Right?
Yeah, you're going to hurt somebody.
Yeah. And, because names will come out, or do you change all the names, or do you change your own name? Or there's just so many things that you sometimes feel like you can't be completely authentic or transparent because there's some things you don't want to share with the world either. And it's totally your choice.
Yeah. Like my trips to Thailand.
We'll get to that. We're going to finish with that.
I'm sorry. It's uncalled for. Continue, Tammy.
That's awesome. We're not there yet, but we will.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. We're going to finish with that.
It's important to talk about that. But yeah, so anyways, I was going to read it. I'm going to read a book. I was going to write a book, and started that whole process. And my partner, who I've now married, but my partner, he goes, well, have you ever thought about doing video? Like maybe doing YouTube or something? And you're good on camera, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, what, really? And so then I started opening up YouTube, and then I'm like, holy cow, there's a lot of EXJW angry people, bitter and all these things. And so I was like, you go down the rabbit hole of the EXJW YouTube community. So that was 2017. It was a bit of an eye opener. But anyways, so at the time though, I was just like, okay, I really need to have a why. There needs to be a proper reason as to why I would go and, spill my life basically on YouTube for the world. And what it came down to is that, if I can help just one person, if one of my videos helps one person so that they feel less alone and that they know someone else is going through a similar life experience, then that's all my why is about, that one person. And so since then, I've had many people that have reached out to me and they've said I've helped them. And, I've even had conversations, video calls, phone calls from, a lot more women, which is better anyways.
Well, it's good because that's another aspect that you maybe, I don't know if you thought about that when you started your channel, but it was in 2017, it was probably like, there was like a handful of you, maybe less than that, so it definitely probably was a need on YouTube for that.
Well, I saw it as a need for, like, I was like, gosh, that would have been nice if I had anyone I could even see that was going through this kind of stuff that I have, been going through as a, floundering XJW. And so the quote that I'm going to share, though, that just really kind of put my resolve together as to my why was I going to do this, is helping one person might not change the world, but it could change the world for that one person. And so that's where I started. And so when I started my video, I think my first video I did for my channel was like, I think I did it about 17 times because it was just like, oh, the lighting's really terrible. And, or you just sound like a crazy person, or you're talking too fast, or, all the things that go into making a video. They're not as easy as it might seem for someone to look at it. And especially when you're publishing your own and your own stories, it's, there's a lot that goes into it. And then right after I did it, I probably, I don't know, published a handful. And then I didn't realize that you could put really good filters on YouTube. So, because I had all these people, like some people would be calling me every name you could possibly think of, from horror to, well, I'm not going to go through them all.
We can list them off. Let's do this.
1 to 2. I know, no, let's not. But you can imagine, you can fill in the blanks. And so I was like really discouraged. I'm like, really, is this all that this community is about? If we want to call it a community, but it is a community because there's people that gather, and they're all from the same, for a similar meaning, being XJW, right? So, and not that we're all friends, because that was another thing. I had a stalker at one point, and I'm like, oh, this is not cool. I've had marriage proposals, even though I don't think they're totally serious. Thank goodness.
They probably were.
But
it's even weirder.
Maybe, I don't know. There's been a lot of weird things, but I always thought, well, if that's only like a 1 or 2%, I can deal with that. Like, the haters, or the lovers, the haters more so, because you get a lot of angry people. And so then I just put filters on everything, because it was just like, otherwise I was going to quit, because I'm like, it is hard. The amount of, if someone is so angry at and taking it out on you. Right.
Right.
So, but that's how it all began. And that's where.
Well, I'd like to say something about your channel. There is definitely there's people out there that maybe, I don't know, individuals would have to answer this themselves, but they may have the wrong motivation, which would be like to make money or to be famous. And you can really tell with your channel that it's totally authentic. You know what I mean?
Professional.
Well, no, actually, it is quite professional. I think
that's not what he's saying. You're way more professional than us.
Oh yeah, like we don't do multiple takes.
We just do this Lego. We do this Lego block thing, and then we just put it up, and we're like, "There you go, boom."
Yeah, I think that's what I like, probably.
Yeah, but no, it's authentic. It's genuine. It's like you can tell your motivation is really to help people. And, and that's why I think you've had, one of the reasons why you've had such an incredible reception on YouTube. And it's also, like you don't make a lot of videos. You're not like thinking, oh, I need to make content. I need to, you know what I mean? Like it's really genuine and awesome. And for those listening, XJWs or JWs, you need to check out Living Truth. It's a great channel. You'll love it. You won't regret it.
Thanks.
I do have, what's the future plans for the channel? Like, do you got any ideas?
Yeah, like I was I mean, I always think about the content. So when you're saying like, putting out content, that is something that's when you're on YouTube, that is something that is coming to mind. Like, am I just going to let it die? And, or because there are people that reach out to me and they're like, hey, we haven't seen you. Are you okay? People that genuinely care for me. And I'm like, that's really kind. Or, people that have been on my channel, which I haven't done a lot of because there's a lot of interview type of styles out there. But my message, I think, is different in like, how can we move forward instead of stay stuck in the past, and more of like, because it's possible, because a lot of people who have moved forward without, being angry and bitter. And, I think there's a cycle of that, I have definitely been there where I'm just like, anger. I'm so angry.
Yeah. Or it's all you think about. You can't even sleep at night because you're so like your mind is racing about all these things. And there's a process you got to go through to move past that.
Yeah, totally. So yeah, I want to reach out or do more videos. And but I'm very mindful and thoughtful about what kind of stuff. Yeah. And because like I said, I'm not one to go over doctrine over and over. Like I just, whatever you believe in, that's fine. Just as long as you're not hurting other people and trying to force it down someone else's throat, like I used to do.
Yeah, we all did that.
The Trinity is a lie. Yeah. I know it doesn't matter and it has no effect on anybody's life, but I'm here to tell you you're wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, you're totally wrong. I mean, if you don't believe what I believe in, you're wrong.
Yeah, and you're going to die.
That whole mindset
Also going to kill you.
You're going to die. That's not a big deal.
Don't worry. In a mass genocide.
Nice. No. But yeah, I forgot where we're going.
The future of your channel.
Yes. Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, so I have thought of other things like just other things as tools. So I look at because having a healthy mind doesn't just happen just because we start talking about our past traumas or whatever. Like it's an ongoing thing, like because these things don't go away. And so I have spent a lot of time on myself, like, and trying to work through like understanding depression and how to master your mindset, and a lot of work around that. And those are the type of things I would like to share also to other people because I think it could be helpful. Also meditation. I mean, I meditate every single day. And
I should meditate every day.
Is that when is that when you like read a scripture and then you sit in silence?
Yeah. Thinking about it.
I knew you were going to say that. Yeah. One of you would do that.
The Watchtower has the wrong definition of meditation. Their definition of meditation is to think a lot about something.
It's kind of the complete opposite.
It's the opposite of what the real definition is.
Because they you just like fill your mind with crazy things.
Yeah.
Real meditation, you can calm yourself.
Well, and fuel your mind, fill them with scripture and thoughts that you aren't doing enough. That's never helpful. And that's pretty much how, so I didn't really understand meditation at all, other than it was bad because once you open and empty your mind, which is how the society or organization teaches that when you open your mind, you're leaving it open to Satan.
Yeah,
and so when Satan comes in, that's what he wants. He wants an open, a brainless mind, because they really put a lot of emphasis on how bad meditation is, like worldly meditation, not meditate on the scriptures. But yeah, I've understood things much differently now, and I also do yoga.
Such a healthy practice.
Yeah, it is. It's healthy.
It is, yeah.
And that's why I can still smile and I don't drink bottles of wine all day long.
Just all night long.
Just once in a while, just on Jesus Christ's death.
Yeah. That's the only time day drinking is okay.
Yeah. Hey, would you ever do? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Would you ever do a guided meditation? Would you ever do that? You think?
Yeah. And that's kind of what I'm thinking.
You should do it. I would totally watch that. I would follow you.
So yeah, I'm kind of looking at something like that, and then just like not showing people how to do yoga, but more of just other practices that you can bring into your life that can bring you more space. Because our lives have become more complicated when it comes to how online we are. Our social media brings down a massive amount of issues when it comes to mental health, right?
Yeah.
And
well, because we can't disconnect, right, anymore. We can't disconnect from our job. We can't disconnect from arguments over politics or whatever else, right? We take it home. Right? It's here. It's we go home and everything's still there.
Yeah, so that's getting notified of it.
Yeah, so I think that's that's pretty important. What you're saying is that
and so like I really think us as XJWs, us as a whole group, I think that people can thrive more than just try to survive and go through the motions of watching every XJW anger video out there, because it's not going to help. It helps for a minute to say, oh, somebody else understands what I'm going through or have gone through. Yes. But now what you're going to do? What are you going to do? Are you just going to sit there and watch more and more? Because that's toxic. It gets toxic, like very, especially like when I first started looking at videos online, like XJW videos, and there was all like these cart crashers and people that were like going into the kingdom halls and like doing these like it was scary. That was making me nervous, just like that.
Just watching them.
And so some people wanted me to join some of the activities around
really.
And I'm like, you know what? It doesn't resonate with who I am as a person. I really believe that people should believe what they want, and we can do things more peacefully. But teach their own. But that kind of stuff it gets people really riled up and really on that bitter train, and that's not where I go.
Yeah. Well, and it's so great that you're saying that, because that just flies in the face of every JW when they think of somebody that leaves the organization, right? You're like bitter and unhappy, and you're all these, like, I'm not upset at any one particular elder. I can't think of one elder that I'm mad at. In fact, I think of them as friends that I've lost. It's the organization that bothers me. You know what I mean? It's not bitterness. So it's so refreshing to hear what you're saying. And you are definitely on the bright side of XJW, in that world, and I don't know, I'm super excited to see what you do in the future. And I'll be looking forward to it. I'll be watching.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. Same with you guys. So were you still talking about going to Thailand?
Oh, yeah. Well, hey, let's move on to, I think this will be our final topic, but you know what? This is the elephant in the room. There's
elephants in Thailand, but apparently they're mistreated, so I won't visit them.
Yeah. So, hey, Tammy, like, we don't see you a lot on Twitter, and but you're kind of a famous XJW, but we don't see you around. What do you think about? You are a little bit, okay. What do you think about what's been going on with Lloyd and all of this mess?
Yeah, well, I've been pretty quiet about it. Watching from afar, through my screens. But when his first, I watched his live.
Like we all did.
Meltdown in January, and I was like, I felt for him then, because I'm just like, oh my gosh, like he was going through like a mental breakdown, and he's going through depression and like I wasn't thinking, I didn't know about him using prostitutes at that time or anything like that. I can't remember if he actually said, anyways, I think he did say that. Oh yeah, he did, because it was just
he admitted to it. We'll get sent a letter, don't worry, from his lawyers.
Careful, litigation time, it's coming.
Litigation. But he admitted to it, unquestionably.
He did. I'm trying to remember back then, but so a few months ago now. So when that was all unraveling, I was just like, oh my God. First, I was feeling sad for him, because I'm like, that's really awful that his friend Kim went and threw all this stuff out in public, that he was, in confidence telling her stuff, right? But then when now she's sharing stuff, and then it all kind of unraveled, and I've read so many things, and I've looked at everything. Well, probably not everything, but really looking at all, because I'm like, if I'm going to talk about this on my channel, I really want to have like a proper view of it all.
Yeah.
Because
I watched.
Honest.
because I watched a lot of his videos and I liked.
We all did. Yep.
I thought he was funny. I thought he was, you know, I don't know. I didn't watch a lot. Like, I wasn't watching every video because, quite frankly, I don't have enough time in my life for that much. But I have like certain ones that would come up. I'm like, oh my gosh, so what's new? What's going on? You know, new light. You know, the new light of the organization that is always an interest, which never is new light. I was like, I heard that back in 1980.
Recycled light.
Regurgitated light.
Yeah, that's what it is.
But anyway, so I was seriously thinking of doing a video, and I started like writing notes down about it. And then I talked to a friend of mine. I had her on my channel, Brenda. You guys might have seen her or not, but anyways, and she hadn't heard a thing about it, and she also followed him too. And she's like, oh my gosh. And so I was like feeling like, okay. So anyways, after her and I had the conversation, and then I was like, well, I'm just going to sit on it because I don't like doing anything too hasty. And then I sat on it some more and more. And I'm like, you know what? I don't know this person. I don't know either of them.
Yeah.
I don't know them. So who am I to start talking about them? So let's stick to what we know and who we know, maybe. But for me to go on about whether he's a good or bad person, I can have my opinion. You know, he cheated on his wife with prostitutes. That's all gross and bad. Going to Thailand is a whole other thing because there's a whole sex trade that happens there. So him admitting he uses prostitutes in the first place and then saying he's going to Thailand for a break and then asking his wife for an open marriage. There's too many things that are just kind of cringy that for me, I'm like, you know what? I'm not into following someone like that. And you know who he is.
Well, even for me and Nation, we could talk about this endlessly, but it's also his reaction after. You know what I mean? For me, it's like the narcissistic way you respond to everybody. You shut everybody down, and he even talks so negatively about the community, like they're all broken and messed up. And if anybody disagrees with him, you're just, you know, you're a victim, and you need to work on yourself, you know. And the reaction to me was just as bad, if not worse, as the whole what took place before that, what he actually did. You know, it shows the true colors of the person, to be honest. You know,
that's where I came out on this whole thing, because people get caught up in what he did, what he didn't do, what he's accused of doing. I don't care. Like, the reality is, in reality, like he goes on about, this is my private life, but you're throwing it out. You know, I've got things in my private life too, but they're not those things. And I'm not going on the internet talking about them. You know, and so he's gone up and he's talked all about it all, and then cries, it's my private life. Here's the reality. You fucked up. You did. We've all done it in one way or another. What you don't do is you don't get drunk, go on a live stream, collect a bunch of money while you piss and moan about your friend that told on you, and then try and garner support to go after anybody who speaks against you. It's insane to me. It's an embarrassment to the community. It's an embarrassment to me as an XJW, and I have nothing to do with the guy. But the reality is, I don't want to be associated with anyone that behaves that way. Nothing to do with the prostitutes or anything else. Own your actions. Fucking apologize. And it's not like I need an apology. It just shows what kind of person you are. Like, it means nothing to me. Like, he doesn't need to apologize to me. I don't deserve an apology. But you should apologize just because you have a huge following and support. And a decent person would be like, you know what? I fucked up. I'm really sorry. I need to deal with this. And I'm going to take a break. I'm going to go try and deal with it and get my life in order. And then I'll probably come back to talking about XJW stuff. And you know what? I would have probably stayed subscribed.
Totally accepted that.
I would have been on his Twitter. I would have been like, whatever. You know what? Deal with your personal problems. Everybody makes mistakes. Carry on. But this nonsense, it was just like, I can't support that kind of behavior. I can't be okay with that. It's not okay.
But, you know, because he said multiple times, I'm taking a break. And so I'd see it on Twitter. I'm not active on Twitter too much, but I have a Twitter channel or whatever. But But I'm like, if you're going to take a break, stop. Like, and he's saying, I gotta take a break. And then he's back on again. And then I'm taking another break. I'm like, but I'm like, do you understand what a break is? But the other thing, like in his live meltdown in January, one thing that really like kind of hurt, like not hurt, but it was just like struck out at the viewer was, he's doing the video and he's like, oh, look there's like 1,000 people on right now. And he goes, all you guys are sick. You're sick. And I'm like, whoa, you're calling me sick. You're calling all your viewers sick who actually were caring about you. Like,
he doesn't think much of his followers.
I didn't even know what it was about. I hadn't seen the Reddit post. No, I just popped on because I had notifications for his channel because I used to watch most of his stuff. So I pop onto this live stream and I'm like, what in the actual fuck is happening here? I had no idea.
What is he talking about?
And here, this is a crazy thing, and he's talking down to the whole community, and he's trashing somebody, and he's admitting stuff, and I'm just like, what is happening? Why is it happening?
And Kim said something the other day I found interesting. She said that he was talking to the community like they already knew he was sleeping with hookers, and it didn't come out till like near the end of the video, where I actually put it together. Oh, he is admitting to sleeping with hookers, but he's acting like everybody knew. I didn't know.
I had no idea. No, I don't think anyone really knew except for his few people in the group. So he should have kept that close. And even in the live, do you remember like as you're watching it, the live feed? And some people actually gave him money during the live feed too. And
a lot of people
told him to fly to come visit me in the States. We'll pay for a plane ticket for you.
Yes.
Well, Sean gave him money, and then because he didn't even know what the live stream is about, Capitan.
Oh,
he went on there, gave money, and then had to go back to work. And then he watched it later, and he was like, "God damn it,
what did I do?
I didn't mean to give him money."
Oh my god!
Pretty sure that was Capitan. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. Another awesome channel you guys should check out. Yeah. Capitan.
Oh, what is that one? I don't know that one.
He's a podcast.
Okay.
Capitan, Sean. He's telling his story right now. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, Tammy, like we are at an hour and 40 minutes here. Or I think that we'll kind of leave it to you to give us the last word. Is there anything you want to say before we kind of shut down the episode? I think we're done talking about Lloyd. We could talk about that for multiple episodes too. But
I don't want Lloyd to burn, just for the record. I know he says that they all think this. We don't want the guy to burn. Get your life in order.
Yeah.
Look after yourself and your family and just cut it out.
We're not shunning him. We didn't disfellowship Lloyd.
No.
Yeah.
No.
But anyway, Tammy, you got some sorry, you want to say something more?
To Nash or me?
Oh no, about Lloyd. I thought you were going to say something more about Lloyd. To you, Tammy.
I guess that would be my last word, actually, is showing up. If you're going to do a video, I think we could have more people doing videos, but be authentic, be authentic and genuine. Don't like call people down. They might be hurting on you. Like we were talking about the haters that come out in the droves sometimes. But just stay real to you. Like this whole narcissistic attitude of like what we've seen recently. If we can stay more away from that, because that just gives more fodder to the JW.org people who, the apostates are bitter. That's what we've always been told. So can we not change that? And that's really what I think my last message would be like. I think there's a better way to be an apostate or be an XJW without carrying a load of bitterness and passing that on through all our channels.
Awesome.
There's enough negativity.
There's plenty of negativity in the world. We don't need to add to it.
Yeah. Well, having you on here today was just a blast of positivity. I'm like, Yeah, like look at you over there. You look happy, and you also live in a beautiful part of the world, and you just look like like something that we can all, like a little bit of an example for us. So thank you for coming to see us today. It was a massive privilege for us to have you here, and I'm just so excited, and I had a lot of fun today. I hope you did too.
I do too. It is my pleasure. Absolutely. We'll do it again.
Yeah. Okay, Tammy. Well,
thanks, Tammy.
This won't be the last time. We'll see you again.
Yeah. Perfect. Thanks, guys.
Okay. Goodbye.
Thanks. See ya.